Hey, what's up, DJ Digital? Maybe you've heard me on Hot 107.9, weekday mornings from 6 to 10. Maybe you know me from The Breakfast Jam. Maybe you listen to me nationally, Double XL Higher Level Radio, weeknights from 7 to midnight. But you know what? I'm going to be off the air and on fire. Louisiana on fire. I'll be off the air with my man Tim Davis, and anything goes. So tune in.
What's up, Louisiana? I'm Tim Davis, and you're watching another episode of Louisiana on Fire. Today, we got the incredible DJ Digital.
Incredible, man.
Incredible, bro. You've been doing this for years, dog. You're incredible, bro.
I think longevity is incredible. It's no, man. It's incredible that we made this work. So I'm so glad I've been watching the show, man. Congratulations.
Hey, man. Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah. I don't know if you remember this, but I was working. I don't want to say where it was, but I was working somewhere, and you came in to get a part for your device that you use and whatnot.
Okay.
And I asked you, I was like, man, look, I've been thinking about doing a podcast, man, but I don't know. And you were like, bruh, do it. Podcast is where it's going.
How long ago was this thing?
This was, bruh. So my
going?
kids, my oldest is 7.
Yeah.
And so she was already born. So it had to be like 6 years ago.
6 years ago. Yeah. I mean, it's I think it's interesting, man, because like watching podcasts, you know, as someone who's come up in broadcasting, just kind of seeing people take this art form of like storytelling, right?
Right.
I feel like it's kind of gone back to like what it started out as. You know, radio was just people having conversations or presenting, telling stories. And then somewhere along the way, we started following like these rules of like talk less or, you know, say this, say that, you know, people don't want to hear. And like, I think people want to hear stories.
Yes.
So, as we're seeing even in our industry, we're realizing, hey man, you know, in traditional terrestrial broadcast radio, it's back to storytelling. So
right.
Thank you to podcasts.
Oh yeah, man. Thank you to podcasts. Thank you to you, man.
Yeah.
I mean, because you've really set a name for yourself, man. And you've really put 107.9 as hot on the map.
Yeah.
You're doing a lot more. We're going to get into all that good stuff, man, because I mean, you're another one, man. We're proud of you in the community. You've done well. You're from here and everything. But let's get into that, man. Where you from?
I'm from here, man. So like I always say, I'm from, you know, I call it pre-gentrified Youngsville. But I don't know if there's gentrification going on in Youngsville as much as there's just development.
Yeah.
So I grew up actually my mother's from New Iberia. My dad is from like Arnaville. But we grew up kind of in the New Iberia area, and I say grew up, like born there, but I remember 89, 90, we moved to Youngsville, but it was very, very, we were one of like two neighborhoods that like actual like streets that were structured in neighborhoods. And so to see the growth out there, you know, I missed all the fun stuff, the sugar mill pond area, and just, it's so crazy to see growth, not just there, but just all over Acadiana. But from there, and I've been actually, I say born and raised. I feel like I've been everywhere, but just I always come home, man. There's no place like it.
Oh,
so,
man, it's not.
I consider myself super lucky to be able to stay here and do what I do, you know, at this level, because there's really, I kid you not, I'm not saying it because we're from here, or the show's Louisiana on Fire, but there's, you go around and you realize there's really cool places, but there's really no place like this. And, you know, just to kind of be here and be from here. But I'm from, you know, Lafayette, born and raised.
Right. But so Youngsville, so I reside in Youngsville now.
The new Youngsville.
The new Youngsville.
When did you get there?
Man, we got there 2000 and, let's see, my baby's 7, so 2015.
What part, do you live in the new part?
I live across from Southside High.
Southside High. So like that was like where we would, that was far enough out for us to go hide out and not get in trouble doing what we were doing in high school. So where you live now is like, you know, you would just be back. If you were back where you are now, back then you were up to no good. So
a lot of stories back there.
A lot of stories, a lot of you know, a lot of memories back there, a lot of regret back there. So, but no, man, it's interesting to see that whole area, and like, you know, it's just spreading out more and more now. So, but I think the same can be said for like not just Lafayette, but just Louisiana in general. Like, what things are in places, and you just kind of, we do this thing in Louisiana where we never call the new thing, we call it the old thing.
Yeah.
Hey man, it's the old whatever.
Right.
You know? So it's super cool, and I think that's another reason why I love where I'm at, because like I've been able to be here to watch it like grow and just kind of see where it's going next. So kind of amazing.
Man, so where did you go to school at? And
Oh,
everything,
so
elementary,
I didn't
all that good
even
stuff.
flex the. So I got when I got into Youngsville, it was Green Tea Linden.
Nice.
So I caught the tail end of elementary school, and then Youngsville Middle School, Comeaux High School, and I feel like I went there at a time where I remember having a choice, like, do I want to go to STM or do I want to go to Comeaux? And depending on where your friend, you would like make your school choices on like where are all my friends going.
Yeah, right.
It's like to think about that in this day and age, like what kid has that choice? But went to Comeaux High School, went to UL, and I think we were the first class of UL coming from USL.
Oh,
Might have been
yeah.
ULL at the
Right,
time.
yeah.
So again, born and raised literally kind of coming up here. Shout out to public school education.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
man.
saying?
Yes, definitely. I went to Karen Crow Catholic.
Oh,
Shout out to the
man.
Crusaders. Your wife went there. That's how I know
my
your wife.
There's a civic pride in Karen Crow that is unlike anywhere else in the world. And I remember we were like, even through sports or just wanting, like Karen Crow was always like that place where, and back in the day, everything felt so far away. Like,
Yeah.
It felt like Karen Crow was like, it may as well have been Baton Rouge. But, it's like, I remember from just getting decimated by like those years of football and they've always been good, but like it was just a different level. So
Yeah.
we're always a little jealous of Karen Crow.
Oh,
Y'all
man.
did it differently out
Yeah,
there.
we did, man. It was different out there,
Yeah.
and I definitely appreciated
Yeah.
coming up out there. and
People from
whatnot.
Karen Crow are not from Lafayette. Like it's one of those places where if you're from Karen Crow, there's certain towns where people will tell you where they're from specifically and not say Lafayette.
Yeah.
Even though they live here, like, oh, I'm from Lafayette, I live in Broussard. No, Karen Crow people will tell you, I live in Karen Crow.
Exit full.
Exactly. So
Yeah, man. So when you were in school and everything, what kind of kid were you, man?
Oh man, I talked a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a man. I look at like kids that like well he has this or he has like I think about that now and I'm like. Did I like not get diagnosed with something? Like I look at it now and you look back at it and like I was talking with a friend the other day and they were talking about like gifted and talented. Like was gifted and talented like a snake oil kind of thing where they just told certain kids like you're gifted and talented, go over there.
Yeah.
Like you have one less hour of this and you get to do that. So always a bright kid, man. I always remember just wanting to know more. And if I was really interested in something, like I was really, really into it. But I also remember if I wasn't into something or if I wasn't a good teacher, it kind of went as I hate to say like, was I thinking about vibes in middle school? Maybe so, but always a bright student, always would finish work quickly and then like always just talking, conversating,
Come on, man.
So yeah, man, I mean, I think about the student that I was and I was speaking with my fifth grade teacher. Actually, Youngsville Middle had me proudest moment. Like people always ask, like, "Oh, what's some of the cooler things you've done?"
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to go back to Youngsville Middle and host a talent show.
Really?
Or not host it, judge it. You
Yeah.
know? And it was. I don't know if you've ever gone back to like a school that you went to a long time ago.
It's different.
And you realize it's so much smaller than you remember.
Yeah, yeah.
So Youngsville was actually like bigger than I thought it would feel small, but it was bigger. But one of the other judges was actually Ms. Grimion, my fifth grade teacher.
Yeah.
So you always want to like ask people like, hey, like not to be weird, but what was that like? Like because your version of what you remember, like those like core memories, whether it was like the best day of school, field day, or maybe you were like bullied, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe you remember the memories of like, oh, I remember I couldn't wait to like get away from school. And everyone's version of school is different, but like we remember like these core memories, the book fair, you know, those are the memories that kind of came back up. But I always try to go back and ask people, even friends that I went to school with. We had a Youngsville Middle, they posted a throwback photo and it was our class. And to still be able to talk to friends now who maybe weren't your best friends in school, but they were just acquaintances and just kind of think back, like, what do they remember you as? And honestly, I'll tell you, if you ever want to know who you are, ask someone that you were just acquaintances with in middle school, and like they'll remember you as you were. So I think definitely friendly. Man, I feel like I've always kind of had a privilege to kind of live in a lot of different worlds. Like I remember I never really fit in with one group, and the benefit, I guess, to that long term was that I was able to learn about so many different groups.
Right.
So, being a kid who like looked ambiguous, right? And it's crazy, like you look back in South Louisiana, people ask you like, what are you? right
Yes.
away. Like if they
Right,
can't
they
tell
do,
right
yeah.
away, they'll ask. And it's
Yeah.
not a disrespectful
No.
thing. Maybe through the lens of like 2024 it is, but I think back at that always. Like, and even like my friends, you could tell it was like a hesitant question. And then like you realize later in life, maybe their parents were more curious than them.
Yeah.
You know, you're like
Yeah.
sleepover's about to happen. Like, hey,
Right.
like, what's up with that kid? So like, man, I think like I often tell people like I recognize my privilege. Like I got to hang out, and not even just from like a, you know, racial, cultural standpoint, but just even just, I would hang out with the kids, the speech squad kids, but then also like the athletes, like playing
Right.
football at Comeaux. So like, I feel like my whole life, that access and that privilege and those seats at those tables have allowed me to learn about people and understand people. And, you know, even though we talk for a living, right? Like, I feel like I've listened more than I've actually, you know, spoken throughout my life. So, you know, as the type of kid that I was, like a lot of my friends just remember me being friendly and, you know, just kind of really just kind of wanting to be where everyone was at, like what's going on over here. Just remembered bouncing around the quad and kind of one day you hang out with these kids and, you know, I think you don't realize it, but when you do that as a kid, you really learn a lot about people and there's not as much shock in the world when you get out and you realize what the real world is like.
You're right about that, man, because you definitely versatile. I mean,
Well, bro, you're from Carencro and y'all all get down together. Like that's one of the few places where you see people, I'm talking from socioeconomic status to parts of the neighborhood to parts of the town, like everybody in Carencro rocks with everybody.
Got each other's back, and everybody knew, you know. So I'm in yours with now, but it's still like that in Carencro, though, you know, because I still have family members in Carencro. So it's still the same, you know, that you say that, you know. It's one of those things. That I went to Southern University in Baton Rouge, so I left, you know. But it is like you were saying, like it's so different though when you go somewhere else. Than come back home.
Yeah,
you know,
it's very different, and again, it almost. You know, leaving is great because you get to see what else is out there. And I often say, like, you come back with these ideas, but you also come back to just appreciate who we are. And not just, I know we do the food a lot, but I really think our biggest export is, like, it's our people. It's our culture.
Absolutely.
Because, like, people say all the time, like, it's just the most, they feel so welcome when they come here. And I think it's just a testament to, like, how we are. I think we just all like learned like we got to get along with each other.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like one way or the other, we got to make it work. But yeah, like you know, just to kind of go back to your question, I feel like I've learned more about what type of kid I was as I've grown up.
Yeah,
you know, and you learn about yourself and you kind of go back to those moments. This is why, you know, I'm so independent. This is why, you know, I'm so talkative. This is why I'm able to understand or maybe empathize with people. And I think it's just once you really have had dinner at someone's house, right? You've seen the best of people, the worst of people. You start to see the parallels of people.
Yeah.
What makes people great, what makes people terrible, you know? And why sometimes it's not their fault that they're terrible.
You're right
know?
about that.
But yeah, man, it's a long answer to your short question.
Man, that is fun, man. Because this is what this is about. I want people to get to know you know? So, and like how you came up and all that good stuff, man.
Yeah.
So I do have this question for you because, you know, I know the vehicles that you have and everything, some of them, and what you've gone through. So when you were in high school, what was the first car you had?
Oh my God. So the first car I had in high school, I was joking the other day because you would like find a reason to wash your parents' car just to back it out. That in that moment, man, in that driveway, especially if you had to like back out of the driveway and maybe take it down the street.
Right.
I mean, that was the hardest like 300 yards that you would drive. You'd have like, you know, I'll never forget my mom finding my Outkast CD, ATLians in her 6-disc changer.
Oh, come on.
So the first car that I technically ever had was my mother's car, but she had a work car. So my mother, you know, shout out to that generation, man. Shout out to the generation of people and like our parents who would get a job and just keep it forever.
Absolutely.
And they would work their way up and they would be appreciative. My mother, I think, started probably as a receptionist at the salt mine on Avery Island. So, you know, when we were younger, my mom, I mean, there was a commute, you know, she would have to go there. And I want to say she retired. She definitely retired, like higher end purchasing manager.
Yeah.
And after the company had like changed hands so many times, I remember Avery Island Salt into, I think, Axo, Nobel, to Cargill, ended up buying them out and they kept getting bought out and bought out. So, you know, she got a job at the salt mine. It's almost like that's, back in the day, you figured out like what's the place that's hiring, and she made a career of it. And so here's the thing. So on Avery Island, there's salt in the air.
Right, yeah.
So if you mix metal with salt, So she had a separate vehicle, like she had her weekend car.
Oh, man. Shout out to mom, huh?
But she drove the 91 cherry red Toyota Corolla
Ooh.
to the salt mine, and you could, I can remember it kind of being rusting like underneath, but
Yeah.
so that ended up being like my first car. And I remember having, if there was a sticker for sale at Spencer's or Gadzooks, it was on. I don't remember when we put stickers like as many as we could on a car. I mean, it was the tackiest word. I don't even know what some of these stickers said, man. But no, it was like, I feel like a lot of people, like I got the like worst car in the family, but it wasn't the worst to me because that freedom.
Yeah,
oh
man.
my God, that freedom to go and come and go and like learn, and that first like feeling of responsibility,
right.
Or liberation, if you will.
Right.
You know, I think the first taste we ever got is like the bike, because we got to ride far away from the house.
Right.
You thought you were far away, but you were a mile away from home. So, but that first vehicle, man, 91, a cherry red 91 Toyota Corolla, stick shift. I feel like she said, give me the most base model.
Yeah.
I think it was just an engine. It was like a Flintstone situation, like an engine, wheels.
Yeah.
You had to, I mean, you're really working.
You got to put the windows down to start the vehicle.
No power steering. I could tell you how bad it was, and it was a stick shift, and there's nothing. I remember being like on a date, and there's no more anxiety than trying to leave Outback Steakhouse. You know, you got the big incline coming off the
right off a pivot
in a stick shift at the light, and you know you got to do the whole. Oh my! And if someone's behind you, it's almost like the most tense moment in a movie. But I mean, I love that, man, and it's crazy because like I feel like we want to go back and get that first car.
Yes.
You know that you know I recently went back and got the first car that I bought was a 99 Honda Prelude.
Yeah, I know, man.
Which I recently went back and bought that same exact vehicle like years later, and I definitely paid more than I paid brand new for it. But it's like that nostalgia. I think we want to go back, and you see people restore old Broncos and stuff because it takes you back to that time. I don't know if I could find the Corolla, man. But,
you might, man.
I put speakers in the trunk. I mean, it was a terrible situation.
What you had, some 10s and 12s?
I probably had like some 15s that shouldn't have been back there.
Damn.
It was all bad.
Beat down the block.
It was all bad. It was like the factory system with just bass, you know. And it was, man.
Couldn't tell you nothing, though.
A lot of cash money and no limit. And you'd have to, when you pull up, you put it on the best part.
Yeah.
Pulling up the Catechism, bumping No Limit Soldiers. Probably terrible idea. Sorry to Father Jody, Father Bruce. Catechism teachers.
Yes.
Someone slapping in the parking lot, the most vile music ever. You know.
That was you.
Yeah, that was me, man. So,
bro. So like, you still have the Prelude though? Or?
I the one that, not the original one.
Yeah. But the one you bought.
You know what's crazy is like I sold it. I sold it maybe 20 feet from where we're sitting right now.
Really?
Because like I was parking two cars.
Yeah.
When I had it, ended up like getting my first BMW.
Yeah.
So like that was like, you know, I've always been a car guy.
Right.
So, but I love that car, man. That car was just like, again, it's the first thing I got. I bought it with like the money that I made off of like some techno song I produced probably.
What?
With DJ Trashy. Yeah. All I ever wanted. And I thought it was a lot of money, but it wasn't. But I mean, it felt good.
At the time, yeah.
At the time, it felt great. And but I couldn't park two cars. And my buddy Jean-Paul Guidry was just at the time like really ramping up Motor City, and that dude would buy a car off of you, off the street.
Yeah.
He had it in his pocket. I don't even know. He handled the paperwork. I may still be in trouble for that vehicle.
It's still
like,
in
I'll
your
take
name.
care of everything. He just took it. He took it that day. It was the last I saw. So interesting story. And I mean, he's still one of my go-to guys. If I'm looking for something, if I got to get rid of something.
Yeah.
You know, it's cool to kind of, you actually made me think about that. Like thinking about those moments and like where your friends are who were involved in those moments.
At that moment.
Or those nights, or, you know, everybody's got a buddy who does X, Y, Z, and it's cool to think about where his business is growing.
Yeah, I know, right?
Buying cars off of the porch. You know?
Man,
So,
now look at him now. This is like with you, man, going from, you know, starting everything at Youngsville Middle, Green Tea, you know, and look at you now.
But
man.
I love going back there and like even driving by, like all those memories come back. And anytime I go back there, my wife will always say like, "Oh, every time I drive by here, you got to tell me like, would you see it?" I was like, man, we were the man. Like if you were the man in middle school or the man in high school, like it's Al Bundy vibes. You go back 3 touchdowns in one game, kind of. You know, you got to let them know, like, man, I used to clap erasers on the side of that building right there. you couldn't tell me nothing.
Nothing, bro.
Yeah.
Man, that's when you put that picture up though of the Prelude. I was like, it took me back too, man.
Oh yeah, man.
Because like that car, and then like eventually with the body kits coming out and whatnot.
You could tell like that, you know, and it's crazy to see how small that car was, and like it made me realize, when did we start making cars so big?
I know, right?
Like every car is so big. Every car has everything in it. Every car has this, and like you can't get like those. I feel like there's not enough cars out there that build character anymore.
Yeah.
Like you remember like the homie who had the jug of water you had to keep in the car. Like it wasn't a matter of if something would go wrong. It was like when. Yeah.
It was when.
Man, hold on a minute.
I was that guy.
Yeah. Y'all go ahead, man. I'll catch up.
Yeah.
You just got to give it a minute, you know? Like, but that built character, you know what I'm saying? Now kids are rolling up like even the worst 150,000 mile used vehicles clean, like you got the USB, you got all the screens and everything in it. So yeah, man, more vehicles that build character.
Yeah, these kids don't know the struggle that we had to go through to pick a damn CD.
You got to roll the window down.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? We had Armor All on everything.
Right. Yes, you got to put it
even
on
grip
the
the steering
dashboard.
wheel.
Yeah. It's all slippery.
It's probably dangerous. You know,
man,
everything shining.
Like you said though, I was outside on the weekends, man. I had a '93 Honda Accord that my mom had. You know, and so I had the strobe lights in there and all that too, man. Going to the base.
I remember like you would go in and like if they made an accessory for your vehicle at, you know, AutoZone, you bought it.
Oh
like,
yeah.
You had the gold pack.
Absolutely.
If they made gold letters for your car, you put the gold letters on it. But I love that. I love looking back at old photos and seeing like what people put rims on anything.
Anything, man.
Anything.
Used to sit there like this, you know, take a picture, you know, and then
just walk into AutoZone and say, give me one of everything. You know, if it fits my car, steering wheel cover.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Do people still put tassel in the mirror? Remember, everybody had the graduation.
Yeah.
Tassel.
Yes.
Girls had the like. You never been to Hawaii, but you got to lay. You
had to
got
lay
to
around the mirror.
in the mirror.
Right.
You had to have it.
Class
so.
like I graduated 03, so class of 03 tassel. You know, like
it, man. You let it. Well, people like you had pride. You represented like that's Karen Crow '99, whatever it was. So
it was fun, man. You used to go to like parties. You know, like everybody was cool and friends with everybody. So it was like, oh, you're going to this Acadiana party, going to this Northside party, you know, STM party. Like, it's a different time.
I'm telling you, man, it is. A kid need, like, to me, drive a van.
Yeah.
Drive the family van. Like, be the kid who has to bring all your friends because you got the van.
I wanted an
Astro van.
I wanted an Astro van.
I saw one on Facebook Marketplace the other day. I was like, damn, I don't need this. I mean, why do I want this? But yeah, I mean, build character. Parents, if you're listening, buy your kid just the worst vehicle.
Yeah.
Maybe have it break down. Get some danger in their lives.
They're gonna, they're gonna understand. They're gonna appreciate it. It's gonna build their character.
Healthy fear.
Yes,
it's so funny.
I mean, you gotta, cause I had the bottle of water. You know what I'm saying? You gotta put like I was that guy. You know, like, but it was what it was. You know, like, but it got me where we needed to be. You know,
I think that like if you have that element of like not having. It makes you appreciate everything so much.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like I used to be upset with my parents not getting this and that, but now I thank them. Frugal or cheap.
And there's nothing worse than parents who did have the ability to do it, because it's different if your parents really don't have it. I feel like the kids that were quote unquote like, you know, parents weren't rich, those are the kids that got everything. Yeah. You know, and it's like you grow up now, it's like, man, my parents had the means to do this, but now I realize why they didn't just give me everything. Like I didn't need the Jordan starter, you know, every Sega Genesis game, you know, so shout out to them for just kind of keeping me grounded.
Yes, they did that, man. Shout out to our parents. We appreciate y'all.
What was the tennis shoe limit?
Oh man, for me, like
I can tell you right now.
Go, you go.
$40.
40?
40 was the limit. And let me tell you, here's something else. Like we didn't, like, it was almost like in The Lion King where he's like, you see where the sun doesn't hit? That was the bricks in the mall. We didn't leave the department store. So if it wasn't in Montgomery Ward, JCPenney, if my mom couldn't get layaway there, we weren't shopping. Like, don't even look in the mall.
Come on.
Maybe we'll go in the mall to get food, but that's it.
That's
like,
it.
If she wants something. So like, my parents had like, it was like $40, and if you wanted more, you had to go hustle. You had to go get it. So man, I was like fixing computers, cutting grass, pulling weeds. You know,
you had to go out and get it yourself.
I had to get another.
So what did you use that money on? What pair of shoes you wanted?
Oh my God, I thought I had good shoes. Whatever the coolest ones I can get. Like,
if
it was a player or like someone who had them on, you know, you wanted everything. I think about that a lot.
Oh man, I wanted the J's, of course. I got one pair of J's, and when I was, let's say from from a certain age to high school, I had one pair of J's my parents got me. That was it. But like I was on a limit like you. I think I had the
thank
D
God.
Wades. I think that might have been $50.
I think I had like the Emmett Smiths or something. It was always like it was a player that wasn't the best player. It was always like, what B player do they have? Man, they're not the Jordans, but these Scottie Pippen had these. These are the wingmans right here. These are clean. Anthony Hardaway. Couldn't get the Shaqs, but I had like the second best player on the team. But I remember my sister. My sister's like 7 years older than me, so she always had cool boyfriends. So, bro, the only Jordans I ever put on my feet as a kid, if he left them at the house. I don't know if you remember that cartoon Doug on Nickelodeon.
Absolutely.
There's that one episode where like he like wanted, it was like the lesson was like you don't need to be cool, but like they only had
them
like
big
the
shoes
size
like
14.
that.
That was me going to Youngsville, man. Like huge shoes, just like with the Jordans on, just looking around to see who's noticing me.
I got him.
With this dude, knowing he'd kill me if he knew I was wearing his Jordan, creasing him up like. I had this much extra space. I had the paper in it. Like it was.
So you were sliding your feet to walk because you couldn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Pre-social media too, man. I can't imagine what it's like for young people now to just constantly see what everyone else has.
Yeah.
Whereas like the only time we saw somebody that was fresh is if you had like an East Bay magazine, or if you saw someone at school with
you
like
used to circle all kind of stuff.
Circle everything you wanted.
Yeah.
Everything was a wish list. But like I couldn't imagine being a kid wanting everything that was just in front of me 24/7.
I know. It's like right there, you know, like look it up and boom, like that.
You just have it, instant gratification.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do.
My nephew, I think the card's connected to Fortnite. My nephew was just like, he knows to ask, but it's just like if you want something, it's just like,
like
like
it's right there.
Apple Pay is like, could you imagine back in the Gap, like if you just had to double tap something? And
Yes.
Bro, if I dialed a 900 number, I knew it was over for me. It was over
You're
for
not
me.
lying,
yeah,
man.
like if it was
They come up on the phone bill.
If there was a
That's
charge
your
on the
ass.
phone bill, that was a wrap. Like it was like, yo, and they're handing, and then the phone bill had like it folded 8 times. They're just holding this huge printout, like, what's this? And you're like, your whole body just gets cold. Like, damn.
That wasn't me.
That must have dialed. I was trying to call my mom. I didn't know. Yeah, must have been off a number.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't me.
I was calling the Santa hotline, trying to give him my wish list, trying to get them Jordans.
Bro, the stuff that we used to have like that back in the day, that's wow. That's
but I feel like the way we
man.
long for it, though, like every generation longs for like that feeling, like that nostalgia, man. And it's crazy. Like even as a DJ now, like I feel like it's beyond what we're talking about. Like more now than ever. Like I want to say, like if I DJ like last night, oh my, 10% of what I played was new music.
Really?
Easily 80 to 90% is like running throwbacks. And it's like people want to go back to that time. Like they want to remember when they felt a certain way. If I'm playing for a younger audience or if it's a certain theme, it just depends on the gig. But like, I'll be honest, and I, you know, DJs we talk, and it's common from here to Los Angeles, like throwbacks. And I think it's because we have so much access to music. Like even kids these days, like they are so aware of older music because it's right there.
It's right there.
You know, we used to like the music we knew is whatever we were fortunate to have in that Case Logic book.
Yes.
Like that was your world. And if you were lucky, if you had a homie who like I had a lot of friends, like I said, I was talking earlier about being privileged enough to hang out with the kids that were really into like alternative rock. And let me tell you, man, like middle school, first half of the 90s, I'm talking exact, like 91, 95, high school, 96, 99. So as all of that was exploding, like young, like alternative rock, the really like pop as you know it, the like boy bands, you know, R&B.
Right.
Name a decade of R&B. I mean, R&B has always been around, but 90, when I say 90s R&B, you know what type of R&B I mean.
That's my...
So, okay, like I tell people, like, I feel like I was so fortunate to come up starting with MC Hammer, Vanilla Ice in like late 80s, because that stuff was in my, you know, in my atmosphere. And I had like, I got an uncle who has, shout out to my Uncle Gerald, he's a jazz, I say real music. So I had that real music in me. Like he was listening to Sade, he was listening to like a lot of real jazz.
Right.
And so I had that in me. My sister was obviously older, so I was listening to 2 Live Crew. I was listening to a lot of the like Miami bass, Atlanta Freaknik.
Right.
Like I was, and then like whatever was on the TV. So like, and my mother's music, which is like Anita, like anything that would be in the van or the grocery store.
Right.
Like that Anita Baker.
Yes, man.
But my mom also liked a lot of soft rock too, and a lot of pop. My dad was like a Motown Temptations, yacht rock guy, Hall and
Yeah,
Oates.
right.
So, and he liked a lot of 80s R&B too. So like that weird era where it was kind of like where they were dressing in makeup. And
Yeah.
like, my sister was a Prince fan. So like I feel like I got all of it coming at me. While as a kid, I'm picking up on all this new music. Tupac is new.
Right.
East Coast, West Coast, and you couldn't tell me that No Limit and Cash Money wasn't the best music.
For real,
Well,
man.
all you know is what you know. So it's like
Yeah.
I'm hearing on the radio, I think they're just as big as everyone else. So like I feel like I got hit and bombarded with everything from Nirvana to big pop music to rock music to everything, dance music exploding,
Yeah.
techno.
Right.
You know, that blowing up in the 90s was huge. So like I was right there for all of that as like, that was my world, and if you didn't own it, you knew a friend who had it.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Absolutely,
So
man.
it's but I go back to the thing is like that nostalgia. It's like we want that feeling.
We definitely
We're constantly going back, and whether it's through movies, every new movie's a remake.
Yeah.
You know, so like if
Make
you
it
think
live
about
action
it,
and stuff.
everything that is great right now is something that we've had before, just with like a little
tweak,
a
little tweak to
a
it.
little tweak. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, at podcasts,
Right.
storytelling's back. You
It's
know?
back, man.
Yeah.
Like-
People want to hear it. People want to lean in on conversations. And stuff.
Yeah, man.
So.
Yeah, I mean, just like going back with all of that, what you said, man. Like, so I gotta ask this one. Like, so out of all of that, what is your favorite genre
it's the
of
worst
music?
question.
Like, what is your favorite genre?
Yeah,
of music?
it's the worst question that I get, man, because like if I, you know, and there's everybody who says that, oh, if you looked at my music collection, you'd think whatever.
Yeah.
So there's like, yeah, there's music that I play, but you know, I gotta be honest, like I'm fortunate enough to like, I like a lot of eclectic things, but man, I think my favorite music would be, just regardless of the genre, I've always been like a fan of music that is at the core warm, really organic, kind of like, you know, I'm a big fan of you know, Stevie Wonder. I'm
Yeah.
a huge fan of, but I'm a huge fan of like Nile Rodgers. You know, I
Yeah.
go back and because when I started digging for records, I started seeing like producers and players and musicians.
lot.
So like just really good songwriting. So my favorite type of music, it's the music that, you know, we consider to be the backbone of music in general.
Yeah.
Like, where did this beat come from? Like everyone, New Orleans bounce.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of like the Trigger Man beat, all the elements that, because like to think about a place like New Orleans where DJs took literally 2 to 3 beats that were not important or popular anywhere else, and they're like, yo, this is the perfect beat. We're gonna run this behind everything.
Right.
And to this day, that still stands. So, you know, my favorite music is the music that inspires more music.
Yeah.
So, man, I still dig for records. I still buy records. I still learn. You know, I'm a student of the game. Once I started digging and finding out, oh wait, this song isn't this isn't this person's song. This is
Yeah,
written by
right.
whoever.
This not the original?
And then you
That's-
start
yeah.
to like dig
Yeah.
deeper and go down that rabbit hole of like, you know, finding like, oh, I'm gonna find more work from this person. You know, even this weekend, like I didn't know I was in Cincinnati last weekend, and I didn't realize how many musicians were from Cincinnati that are Bootsy Collins, King Records, James Brown. A group called The Deal, which I know
Oh,
about
yeah,
them,
right.
but I didn't know Babyface was in that group.
Yeah, yeah.
See, you knew that,
Yeah,
like,
right.
and like it's like I was like, I know that, but then I didn't know that, and then you realize, oh, this guy was in the group too.
Yeah.
And that guy, oh my God, then they went on
L.A.
to
Reid.
L.A. Reid.
Yeah.
See, you know.
Right.
So that right there, what we just did, that's my favorite music.
Yeah.
So when you can kind of go back and look at like from Babyface the producer, or from a guy like Rod Temperton, who was in Heat Wave, like this gnarly white dude with like a messed up grill from overseas who was just funky and soulful, and you realize he's the dude who wrote Rock With You with Quincy Jones, and then you go back to Heat Wave and you're like, oh damn, now I hear it.
Yeah.
Like I
right.
hear what they were looking for. So then you just go down that rabbit hole. So that music for me is just kind of when you go back, because people say like you gotta, in order to know where you're going, you gotta know where you came from.
Yeah.
And like, man, apply that to like anything in life.
Right.
And if you think about your favorite new song right now, and it's a gift and a curse that like I could tell you where that drum came from. I could tell you what bass line they borrowed, changed one note, did these 2 words, this chord progression, where that all came from, like, and just knowing why this song is successful is because it's already been successful.
It's been. I do that with my wife. Like we'll listen to music, and I'm like, oh, that's from this so and so.
100%
That's
from
from
that.
so and so, and she's
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about? I'm like, this beat right here, like,
Yeah.
like whatever it is.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, that's not. I'm like, so
Yeah.
I gotta go back and I gotta look, and I'm like, here, listen to it.
Yeah.
She's like, oh wow, I didn't know that. But it all goes back, like you said, to from the past. It's a lot of recycling
Yeah.
of the beats.
I like
and
time.
everything.
My favorite music is timeless music. So like
Yeah.
music that 20 years from now, man, you still get the same feeling. You still get that familiarity where like
Where you were at that moment when you heard the song.
I guess like one time only moments is a big thing for me. I was watching this documentary once, and Nile Rodgers actually said this. Like, if you made a song, and if you think about the biggest records, just think about how immediately you know that's your favorite song. They knew that like a DJ, and they'd bring this vinyl to this DJ. Could you play this? Because like that's how people learned about new music, whether in a club or whether on a radio station, a DJ had to play it. Well, there was a time where like, especially dance music and disco, you wanted your song played in front of 2,000 people,
right,
for people to go, what's that song? And to go find it. And you had to hook people. The DJ would do, and as a DJ, I know this, like they call it needle dropping. So we'll drop it at the beginning, we'll drop it in a little bit, and we'll drop it in again. And if you can't get a DJ to know that they can play this right now in front of 2,000 people that are losing their minds and sweating out all the problems of the week and it not mess anything up, then they're not going to play it. So that one time only moment. So when you think about a song like, what's the Lil Boo Thing song?
Oh,
right?
yeah, my kids love that song.
So, but
yes.
then like you go back to like Best of My Love.
Yes.
That dun-na,
yeah.
dun-na,
dun-na, the best of mine.
Dun-na, dun-na,
yeah. Right.
Right then.
Yeah.
You got to have it right there. Or just the way that a lot of like songs would start on 3 counts. That, you know, you got to have it right out of the gate. So one time only moments are huge for me, where you know when that certain first note hits.
Yeah.
Back that thing up.
Yeah, yeah.
Can we
and
say,
then they
can we
all
say,
start.
can we say
Yes,
as
we
with,
can.
we say as with 2 Z's? You hear that note, and I mean, it's almost like what is like in movies when you see all the animals like of the earth like perk up and you see
right.
rumbling. All of a sudden, all the animals are running. It's like, you know, and it's that one time songs that have one time only moments, man, where like you know that there's nothing else on but that record at that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's another long answer to a short
No,
question.
man, no, this is what we want, man.
Yeah.
This is what I enjoy this, man, because like I
Sure.
feel like we're getting to know you and everything that goes in your mind when you're playing an event, you know, for people.
Yeah,
like,
but you know, it's like I think about this as a DJ. Like my job is to take things, and you could apply this to life. And I think like in everything that I do, the DJing is what I love to do. Like when I never think about that being my job. I feel like it's taken me to everything else that I do. So my job is to take a thing over there that's like completely different than this thing over there and bring it together to make a new thing. That you never would have thought these two things would have gone together. But man, the way that you went from here to here, but like if you think about it, that's literally any and everything in life, whether it's business, whether it's connecting people, connecting community, connecting ideas, making new ideas out of old ideas. That logic, you could apply it to anything. So it's like, to me, that's the gift.
Yeah.
Is like being able to like see something like, you know what, man, like it doesn't seem like these things would go, and people love mashups. Some of them are cornier than others. Like some of them are so obvious, like, but people love it. And you see it behind TikToks now. If you could take this song and put this beat over it, like I know a lot of people hate that, and a lot of DJ friends can't stand, you know, maybe the art form of it all. Like, you know, and it's okay to be a snob of whatever you love. But like to me, it's like, man, I don't care how they're getting there.
Right.
I don't care if they're doing it the lazy way. I don't care if there's a computer that mixes it for you. As long as people are like loving this and getting into it, man, that's amazing. You know, however you got to find it, however you got to get there. You know, I always say like, as long as we end up, there's a bunch of ways to get to New Orleans. We take 90, we take I-10.
There's different ways to get there.
There's different ways to get there. You might wait longer here. You might drive longer and never stop. But like, however, as long as you get there,
that's what I tell everybody, man. It's like almost every episode I tell people, like, the destination remains the same. It doesn't matter how you get there. Just get there. You have to take that exit and that exit, but keep going.
You might miss an exit, though.
You may miss one.
You miss an exit, but you learn from it, though.
Yes, you're like, damn. Now you got to go back
90.
around. Yeah.
I knew I should have took 90.
Or you get in traffic or whatever, just keep going. You're going to get there, you know. I do have this one, though, man. Like, look, because this is a good question. Everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
But you can't answer it.
Oh,
all
wow.
right? You're going to have to wait. We want to know how you got started in DJing, man. But don't answer just yet, man. Don't answer just yet. You guys going to have to tune into episode 2 if you want to find out what DJ Digital, how he got started and all that good stuff, all right? Go check you on the next one. That's good. What's up, Louisiana? Thanks for watching another episode of Louisiana on Fire. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Oh, And don't forget to hit that bell so you can be notified for the next episode.